Impossible alien girls shocked after witnessing a human sniper's perfect shot. The harsh winds of Proxima 7 howled through the massive stone arches carrying stinging particles of crimson sand. Bradley Shawn adjusted his position behind the weathered boulder, his sturdy metallic armor scraping against the rough surface. The weight of his Mark 7 precision targeting system felt reassuring against his shoulder as he peered through the scope, his piercing blue eyes focused on a target that seemed impossibly distant. "You're completely mad," whispered Niara Tari, her azure skin almost glowing in the planet's dim light. Her long blue hair whipped around her face as she crouched beside him, her black combat suit's metallic accents catching the light of the setting sun that shot as beyond even the most advanced targeting systems. The distance, the wind variables, the planetary curvature, it's simply not possible. Bradley's lips curled into a confident smirk beneath his neatly trimmed beard. Watch and learn. Beautiful humans have a saying. Impossible is just another Tuesday. The target was a small control panel barely visible at this range. 4.7 km away, positioned high on an ancient alien structure. Their mission required its activation, but the surrounding defenses made a close approach suicidal. One shot was all they had. The finest astral core snipers couldn't make this shot. Nara continued, her amber eyes studying his face with a mixture of concern and fascination. Even with quantum-guided projectiles. That's because they rely too heavily on tech, Bradley interrupted, making minute adjustments to his scope. Humans, we do things the old-fashioned way. We calculate, we feel, we adapt. He paused, taking in the environmental data through his decades of experience. Rather than computer assistance, and sometimes we just say it. And pull the trigger. Nara watched as he settled into position, his breathing becoming measured and controlled. The wind howled louder, throwing more crimson sand into the air. But Bradley remained perfectly still, becoming one with his weapon. Target distance 4.7 kilometers, crosswind, approximately 35 knots, gusting to 45, gravity at 1.2 Earth standard atmospheric density. He muttered, making mental calculations that would have taken a computer several seconds to process. Time to impact will be 7.3 seconds. That's not even account for the chorus effect. Or the Niara began, but fell silent as Bradley's finger tightened on the trigger. The rifle's report was barely audible, thanks to its advanced suppressor, but the round's passage created a visible distortion in the air. As it cut through the atmosphere, Nara counted the seconds, her heart pounding. 1, 2, 3. The distant control panel erupted in a shower of sparks and the ancient mechanism began to hum to life. The massive stone doors beneath it started to grind open, revealing the entrance they'd been seeking. Impossible, Niara exclaimed, her amber eyes wide with disbelief. How did you? That shot was Bradley. Was already standing, slinging his rifle over his shoulder with practiced ease. Like I said, beautiful, just another Tuesday for a human. He offered her his hand, helping her to her feet. Now comes the fun part. The fun part? She asked, still staring at the distant target in amazement. Getting inside before whatever's in there wakes up completely. His grin widened. Raise you to the bottom. The descent into the facility was anything but straightforward. Bradley and Niara navigated through a series of winding corridors, their path illuminated by the ethereal blue glow of ancient power conduits that hummed to life as they passed. Your shot activated more than just the entrance, Nara observed, her amber eyes scanning the awakening systems. The whole complex is coming alive. Her black combat suit's sensors flickered as they detected increasing energy signatures. Bradley moved with practiced precision, his rifle at the ready. That's what makes it exciting. Beautiful. Nothing like a little danger to get the blood pumping. He flashed her a roguish grin that made her heart skip a beat. The air between them crackled with unspoken tension. Since witnessing his impossible shot, Nara found herself increasingly drawn to his raw human confidence. It was so different from the calculated precision of her own people. A sudden movement caught their attention. Ancient defense drones dormant for millennia began detaching from their charging stations simultaneously. Hostile forces could be heard entering the facility from another entrance company. From 2 directions, Bradley announced, taking cover behind an ornate pillar. Looks like we've got some uninvited guests who noticed our grand entrance. The drones are running primary targeting protocols, Nara said, her combat training kicking in, and those footsteps, Crimson Talon mercenaries by the sound of their gear, care to make this interesting. Bradley's eyes sparkled with mischief. Bet I can take down more targets than you. You're on human. Niara purred, her voice carrying a hint of something more than competitive spirit. Though I must warn you, my people are known for their exceptional performance. Under pressure, the first wave of drones rounded the corner, their ancient weapons charging simultaneously. The heavy boots of mercenaries echoed from the opposite direction. Bradley and Niara found themselves pressed together behind the pillar, their bodies flush against each other in the confined space. You know, Bradley whispered, his breath hot against her ear, where I come from, this would be considered one hell of a first date. Ends as your skin darkened slightly with a blush. Is that what this is, a date? She fired a precise shot, dropping a drone. My people usually start with dinner. I'll make it up to you after. Bradley promised, taking down 2 mercenaries with 1 bullet. Assuming we survive, their combat dance was intoxicating. Each movement brought them into closer contact, their bodies working in perfect synchronization. Nara found herself mesmerized by his fluid grace, so at odds with her people's stereotypes about humans being crude and unrefined. Between firefights, they advanced deeper into the facility, the ancient defense systems becoming increasingly aggressive. The close quarters combat forced them to rely on each other, building a trust that transcended their species' differences. That's 12 for me, Bradley called out, dropping another mercenary with a perfectly placed shot. 14, Nara responded smugly, her back pressed against his as they covered each other. Though I must admit, watching you work is distracting. The air between them grew heavier with unspoken desire. Each brush of contact, each shared moment of danger only intensified their connection. Bradley's human scent, a mixture of gunpowder and raw masculinity, was driving Nara's enhanced senses wild. You know, she said, during a brief respite, my species believes that combat prowess is the ultimate aphrodisiac. Her fingers traced the scratches on his armor. And your shot earlier, I've never seen anything like it. Bradley caught her hand, his touch sending electricity through her body. Is that why you keep looking at me like you want to devour me? Perhaps, she admitted, her amber eyes meeting his blue ones. Though I warn you, my people's passion can be overwhelming for other species, sweetheart. Bradley grinned, pulling her closer. Humans wrote the book on passion, were kind of famous for it. Their moment was interrupted by another wave of drones, forcing them back into combat. But now there was an added layer to their dance, each movement charged with promise, each share glance heavy with intention as they fought their way deeper into the facility. Nara found herself increasingly fascinated by human resilience. Bradley moved with a primal grace that defied her understanding of his species, each impossible shot adding to her growing attraction. Your people, she said between firefights, they're not what the galaxy thinks they are. As are they. We're full of surprises, Bradley replied, his hand brushing her lower back as they moved positions. Stick around, beautiful, and I'll show you just how surprising humans can be. The ancient facility defenses grew more challenging, but neither of them noticed the increasing danger. They were lost in their own world, where combat and attraction merged into a primal dance as old as time itself. The ancient security bunker provided a temporary haven from the chaos outside. Bradley sealed the heavy doors behind them, his practiced movements efficient despite his racing heart. The small chamber designed for emergency personnel, thousands of years ago, hummed with dormant power systems. Nara's amber eyes glowed in the dim light as she checked their surroundings. Security systems indicate
we're safe for now.
The mercenaries can't breach these walls without heavy equipment. Good, Bradley replied, removing his scratched armor plates, because I believe we have some unfinished business. His piercing blue eyes met hers with unmistakable intent. The azure-skinned warrior stepped closer, her graceful fingers tracing the contours of his face. You humans continue to amaze me. Such precision, such raw power. She pressed against him, her combat suit's metallic accents cool against his skin. My people would never believe the things I've seen you do. I'm just getting started. Beautiful. His strong hands found her waist. There's a lot more impossible things I can show you. Their passion ignited like a supernova, primal and unstoppable. Hours blurred together as they discovered each other, their different species adding an exotic element to their intimate exploration. Their encounter was everything Nara had imagined since witnessing his impossible shot, powerful, precise, and absolutely perfect. Afterward, they lay together on their discarded armor. Nara's blue hair spread across Bradley's chest. I never understood why humans were considered such a force in the galaxy, she mused, tracing patterns on his skin. Now I'm beginning to see why. Why, you're remarkable, Bradley chuckled, running his fingers through her hair. We're full of surprises. Speaking of which, he reached for his tactical bag, pulling out a small package. I always carry emergency rations, not exactly the dinner date I promised, but always prepared, she purred, accepting the offered food, another admirable human trait. Their peaceful moment was shattered by a deep rumble that shook the entire facility. Warning lights flashed as ancient systems screamed alerts in long-dead languages. That's not the mercenaries, Bradley said, already moving to check the security feeds. Something else is awakening in this facility. Nara quickly donned her combat suit, her warrior instincts taking over. Energy readings are off the charts. Whatever we activated with your shot, it's more than just defense systems. The bunker screens flickered to life, showing massive machinery stirring in the facility's depths. Ancient robots far more advanced than the security drones they had faced earlier were assembling themselves from dormant components. Well, Bradley muttered, checking his rifle, looks like our little love nest just got complicated. My people have legends about facilities like this, Nara said, her expression grave. Ancient weapons created by civilizations long extinct, designed to reshape entire worlds. Another tremor shook the chamber. Through the security feeds they watched in horror as the robots began constructing something massive. The mercenaries who had been hunting them were now fleeing in terror. Those robots, Bradley observed. They're building some kind of quantum device. The energy signature matches forbidden weapons from the last galaxy war. Impossible, Nara exclaimed, her hand gripping his arm. Those weapons were all destroyed. The treaties ensured, sweetheart. You've got to stop using that word around me. Bradley grinned despite the danger ahead. Makes me want to prove you wrong again. She matched his smile, her amber eyes gleaming. Perhaps that's why I keep saying it. The facility shuddered again, and new alerts flashed across the screens. The quantum device was reaching critical mass, its power signature growing exponentially. We need to shut it down. Bit Marie, Bradley said, checking his ammunition. Any ideas? Nara studied the facility schematics. The main control center is 3 levels down, but it's probably heavily guarded by those advanced robots. Good thing you've got the best shot in the galaxy as your partner. Bradley winked, slapping a fresh magazine into his rifle. Think you can keep up, partner? Nara raised an eyebrow, her lips curving into a seductive smile. Is that what we are now? Well, after what we just did, I'd say we're definitely more than just mission associates. He pulled her close for a quick, fierce kiss. Besides, I still owe you that proper dinner date. Survive this and I'll hold you to that promise. She checked her weapons, her movements fluid and precise. Though I must warn you, my appetite has grown considerably since meeting you. The chamber rocked with another explosion and emergency barriers began sliding into place throughout the facility. They had minutes at most before the quantum device reached full power, ready to do the impossible again. Bradley asked, his hand on the bunker's door controls. With you? Nara's eyes sparkled with both desire and determination. Always the journey through the facility steps was a deadly dance of precision and timing. Bradley and Yara moved as one unit, their earlier intimacy translating into perfect combat synchronization. Advanced security robots patrolled every corridor, their ancient weapons humming with lethal energy. The quantum surge is intensifying, Nara reported, checking her suit's readings. We have maybe 20 minutes before total planetary destabilization. Bradley studied the holographic layout. She projected the original control panel I shot. It's connected to the main power core. If I can hit it again from the inside this time, that's suicide. Nara's amber eyes widened. The angle would be even more impossible than before, and you'd have to curve the shot around the quantum field. He flashed her that infuriatingly confident smile that made her azure skin tingle. Darling, after what we just shared in that bunker, I'm feeling particularly inspired. They fought their way to a maintenance shaft that would give them the best possible angle. The facility's automated defenses grew more aggressive with each passing minute, as if sensing their intentions. You know, Bradley said as they took cover behind a falling column, where I come from, this would qualify as a pretty epic second date. Nara eliminated 3 robots with precise shots, her movements graceful despite the chaos. If we survive this, I'm demanding a proper third date, something involving and fewer ancient death machines. Deal. Bradley pulled her close, stealing a passionate kiss that left them both breathless. Though I have to admit, watching you fight really gets my blood pumping. Focus, human, she purred. Though her hands lingered on his chest. You still need to make an impossible shot to save this planet. They reached the maintenance shaft and Bradley began setting up his position. The shot would need to travel up through 3 levels, curve around the quantum field's distortion and hit a target smaller than his thumb, all while avoiding the facility's increasingly dense energy barrage. The quantum interference is affecting all targeting systems, Nara said, providing cover fire as more robots converged on their position. You'll have to do this completely manually, just like old times on Earth, Bradley replied, making main adjustments to his rifle. Before all this fancy tech we had to rely on pure skill and instinct. Nara watched him work, marveling at his concentration despite the chaos around them. His hands were steady, his breathing controlled. She'd never seen anything like it in all her years of combat. You humans, she said softly. You're absolutely fascinating. Your entire species seems to thrive on achieving the impossible. That's because we're too stubborn to accept limitations, Bradley replied, not taking his eyes off the scope. Also, I've got some pretty compelling motivation to succeed right now. Oh, she raised an eyebrow, dispatching another robot. And what might that be? Well, there's this stunning blue-skinned warrior who's expecting a proper dinner date. Would be a sham to disappoint her by letting this planet explode. The facility shuddered violently and warning klaxons blared in ancient languages. The quantum device was reaching critical mass. Bradley, Nara's voice was urgent. Whatever you're going to do, it needs to be now. He took a deep breath, his finger steady on the trigger. You know what's really impossible? He asked, making one final adjustment. What's that? How hard I'm falling for you. The shot rang out, its sound almost lost in the chaos of battle. The bullet traveled up through the maintenance shaft, its trajectory bending around the quantum field in a way that defied physics. Time seemed to slow as they watched its path on Nara's tactical display. The bullet struck the control panel at precisely the right angle, triggering a cascade of power failures throughout the facility. The quantum device's energy signature began to fade. Impossible, Nara exclaimed, but this time her voice was filled with joy and admiration. You actually did it. Told you to stop using that word, Bradley grinned, pulling her into his arms. Though I love the way you say it. The facility systems began powering down around them, the ancient robots returning to their dormant state. In the sudden quiet their hearts beat in synchronized rhythm. So Bradley said, his hands tracing the curves of her combat suit. About that third date. First, Niara replied, her amber eyes gleaming with both promise and challenge. Explain to me how you made that shot. The physics alone should have made it completely. He silenced her with a kiss that made her forget all about physics and impossible shots. When they finally parted, the facility was dark and silent around them, save for the hum of emergency systems. Some things, Bradley whispered against her lips, don't need explaining, they just need to be experienced. The orbital restaurant's stellar crown floated serenely above Proxima 7, its crystalline dome offering a spectacular view of the planet's triple sunset. Bradley and Niara had finally gotten their proper date, though not quite as they planned. The Galactic Special Operations Division, Bradley mused, swirling the rare Centaurian wine in his glass. Never thought they'd notice our little adventure down there. Anora's skin seemed to shimmer in the starlight, her formal attire replacing her usual combat suit. They've been watching you for quite some time. Apparently that shot you made, both shots caught their attention. Across the restaurant sat 3 high-ranking GSO officials, pretending not to watch them while obviously monitoring their every move. The elite organization was known for recruiting the galaxy's finest specialists for missions that officially didn't exist. Technically, this still counts as a proper third date. Bradley grinned, reaching across the table to take her hand, even with the audience always finding the bright side. Niara laughed, her amber eyes sparkling. Though I must admit I had planned something more private for dessert. Their intimate moment was interrupted by the approach of Commander Richard Sterling, GSO Dade's legendary field operations director. His perfectly pressed uniform bore medals from a dozen worlds. Mr. Sean, Miss Tari. He nodded respectfully. I trust you're enjoying the evening. The wine's excellent, Bradley replied casually. Though I suspect this isn't just a social. Sterling smiled thinly, direct. Good, we've been following your work, especially your recent achievement at the ancient facility. The shot you made to deactivate the quantum device. Our best analysts still can't explain how it was possible. That's becoming a theme with him. Nara interjected, her voice carrying a note of pride, and indeed Sterling placed a small holographic projector on their table, which is precisely why we need you both. What you encountered in that facility wasn't an isolated incident. The projector displayed a galaxy map marked with dozens of pulsing red points. Similar installations are activating cross-known space. We believe they are all connected, part of some ancient network, and they're all counting down to something. Bradley studied the map, his tactical mind already analyzing patterns. You want us to help shut them down. We want you to lead the operation. Sterling corrected, your unique abilities, Mr. Sean, combined with Miss T's expertise in xenotech, make you the perfect team, plus your personal dynamic has proven remarkably effective in the field. Nara's skin darkened slightly at the implied meaning, but her voice remained professional. What's the catch? Some of these facilities are in contested space, hostile territories, places where official operations can't go. Sterling's expression grew serious. This would be completely off the books if you're caught. We don't exist. Bradley finished. Standard Black Ops protocol. Precisely. Sterling stood. You have until midnight to decide. The galaxy needs you both, but it has to be your choice. After he left, Bradley and Niara sat in thoughtful silence, watching the stars wheel overhead. You know, Bradley finally said, this wasn't exactly how I planned to take our relationship to the next level. Narist, an elegant eyebrow. Oh, and how did you plan it? Well, it involved less potential galactic catastrophe and more private time to explore that amazing thing you did with your focus, human. She purred, though her eyes promised later adventures. We have a decision to make. Bradley leaned back, studying her face. What do you think? Ready to save the galaxy with me? It would be dangerous. When she mused. Probably suicide. Definitely impossible. There's that word again. His grin turned predatory. You're doing that on purpose now, aren't you? She stood gracefully, offering her hand. Perhaps we should discuss this somewhere
Or private.
I believe you mentioned something about dessert. They made their way to their assigned quarters aboard the station, the sexual tension between them building with each step. The GSO could wait a few hours. For their answer later. As they lay tangled in sheets, Niara traced the scars on Bradley's chest. You realize this mission would mean more impossible shots, more ancient death traps, more desperate situations. Sounds like a perfect extended date to me, he replied, pulling her closer. Besides, I've got something worth fighting for now. Just remember, she whispered against his lips, you're not the only one who can do impossible things. The station's artificial night cycle dimmed the lights, casting shadows across their intertwined forms. To tomorrow they would give Sterling their answer, but tonight belonged to them. The luxury suite aboard the Crimson Nebula, flagship of the Andromedan Consortium, sparkled with opulence that made the GSO day's accommodations look austere by comparison. Bradley adjusted his formal wear uncomfortably, while Niara seemed to glide effortlessly in her flowing evening gown, her azure skin complementing the deep purple fabric. High executive, thin, certainly knows how to make an impression, she whispered, her amber eyes scanning the room filled with the galaxy's elite. Though I suspect this isn't just a diplomatic reception. Got that right? Bradley muttered, noting that subtle security measures and hidden weapon emplacements are impossible. Shots are drawing quite a crowd. The Andromedan Consortium represented the wealthy Outer Rim worlds, technically neutral but always pursuing their own agenda. Their interest in ancient facilities had been purely academic until now. High Executive The approached his crystalline, refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. Our honored guests, I trust you're finding everything to your satisfaction. The hospitality is remarkable, Nara replied diplomatically, though we're curious about the invitation timing. Direct like all Australians. Things crystalline features shifted into what passed for a smile. Very well. We know about your arrangement with GSO. We're prepared to make a better offer. Bradley felt Nara's hand tighten on his arm. We're listening, he said carefully. Double whatever they're paying you, plus exclusive access to our advanced targeting systems. Gestured to a sleek weapon displayed nearby. Imagine what you could accomplish with proper equipment, Mr. Shen. Impressive hardware, Bradley admitted, studying the rifle. But we've already given our word to GSO. Words can be renegotiated. Things voice lowered, especially when the stakes are so high. We know things about these facilities that GSO doesn't. A server approached with drinks.
But Niara Suli signaled Bradley to decline. Her species could detect certain chemical signatures and something wasn't right. Perhaps we could discuss this somewhere more private, thing suggested, noting their caution. Actually, Bradley smiled disarmingly. I promised my partner the next dance. They moved to the ballroom floor, their bodies pressing close under the pretense of dancing. Poison in the drinks, Nara confirmed softly. They're not planning to take no for an answer. Notice the security teams moving into position. Bradley guided her through a complex turn that gave them a better view of the room. I count 12, maybe 15, 17. She corrected, her breath hot against his ear, including the ones masquerading as servants. We could fight our way out and risk an interstellar incident. He pulled her closer, their movements becoming more intimate. I've got a better idea. Their dance took them near one of the ornate windows overlooking space. The ship's shield sparkled faintly against the starfield. Remember that thing we did last night? Bradley whispered, his hands trailing down her back. The one that made you say impossible 3 times. Nara's skin darkened with a blush. Which time? The last one. Think we could recreate that timing? She caught his meaning and smiled seductively. Ready when you are human. Their dance became more passionate, drawing attention from the other. Yes, even the security team seemed momentarily distracted by their display. Now Bradley breathed. They spun apart, each drawing hidden weapons with practice. Grace. Bradley's shot hit the window's structural weakness precisely as Nara's blast disrupted the local shield generator. The resulting explosive decompression was contained by emergency force fields, but not before they slipped through the chaos into a main corridor that was almost as fun as last night. Niara laughed as they ran her evening, transforming into tactical mode. Though I prefer when you take your time with the shots. Save that thought for later. Beautiful. Bradley activated his emergency beacon. GSO'd extraction team should be here in 3 minutes. They reached a service airlock just as consortium forces caught up. The firefight was brief but intense, with Bradley making several seemingly impossible shots around corners using only reflected surfaces. Show off, Nara teased, providing cover fire. You're just trying to impress me now. Is it working? The GSO stealth shuttle docked seconds later and they dove inside just as the consortium's heavy weapons teams arrived safe in the shuttle's cabin. Nara straddled Bradley's lap, her eyes blazing with adrenaline and desire. You know what's really impossible? She purred. What's that? How you managed to make me want you even more after each crazy stunt. Their passionate embrace was interrupted by Commander Sterling's hologram appearing. I trust the int gathering was successful. The consortium knows something about these facilities that they're desperate to keep quiet. Bradley reported, though his hands didn't leave Nara's hips. Desperate enough to risk an incident with G. So interesting. Sterling's image flickered. Return to base for debriefing and try to maintain some professional decorum. During the flight, after he disappeared, Nara gave Bradley a predatory smile. We've got 2 hours until we reach base and I did promise to take my time with the next shot. He agreed, pulling her closer. GIS is a central command center hummed with unprecedented activity. Holographic displays show dozens of ancient facilities activating simultaneously across the galaxy, their energy signatures pulsing in an ominous rhythm. Bradley and Niara stood before the emergency council, still slightly disheveled from their hasty return. Their recent intimate encounter in the shuttle had left them both glowing. Though they maintained professional composures, the data you retrieve from the consortium is disturbing. Commander Sterling announced, projecting a complex series of calculations. These facilities aren't weapons. They're components of a massive stellar engineering project. What kind of project requires synchronized activation across an entire galaxy? Nara then asked, her tactical mind already analyzing patterns. A reset button. Dr. Elena Hemson, GSD's chief xenoarchaeologist, stepped forward. The Ancient built this network to prevent something they called the Great Filter, a cosmic event that periodically threatens all advanced civilizations. Bradley studied the projections, his sniper's eye catching details others missed. These energy patterns, they're not random. They're forming some kind of targeting grid. Precisely, Sterling confirmed. And according to the consortium's secret archives, we have exactly 72 hours before it activates. When it does, It will trigger a cascade of quantum events that will rewrite the fundamental laws of physics in this sector of space, destroying all advanced technology in the process. Nara realized, sending every civilization back to their Stone Age unless Dr. Kamon interjected. Someone can hit all these precise points simultaneously.
She highlighted dozens of targets across the galaxy map. The system was designed with a fail-safe, perfect synchronized shots at exact coordinates could safely discharge the energy buildup impossible. One of the council members exclaimed, "Even with our most advanced AI targeting systems, not impossible." Niar interrupted her, amber eyes meeting Bradley's blue ones. "Not for him." Bradley stepped closer to the hologram, analyzing distances and angles. "I'll need a ship with enough speed to hit multiple positions quickly, and someone to watch my back, already arranged," Sterling said. "We've modified our fastest stealth cruiser with a specialized firing platform. But Mr. Sean, these shots will make your previous impossible feats look like target practice. Good thing I've got my lucky charm." Bradley winked at Niara, who felt her azure skin flush despite the serious situation later in their private quarters. As they prepared for the mission, Niara watched Bradley cleaning his rifle with precision. "You're not worried?" she asked, moving behind him to massage his shoulders. "These shots will require calculations beyond any known targeting computer. Who needs computers when I've got something better to focus on?" He pulled her into his lap, their bodies fitting together perfectly. "Besides, you're the one who keeps calling my shots impossible, starting to think you just like being proved wrong." She traced the lines of his face with elegant blue fingers. "Perhaps I simply enjoy watching you defy the universe's limitations. It's quite stimulating." Their passionate embrace was interrupted by the ship's ready alert, but neither moved immediately to respond. "You know," Bradley murmured against her neck, "saving the galaxy is going to take a lot of energy. We should probably conserve our strength." "Absolutely." Nar agreed, her hands already working at his armor class. A very responsible thinking. Hours later, as they approached their first target facility, Nara monitored the sensor readings from her station on the bridge. Energy levels are still climbing. Whatever this great filter is, it's aiding the process. "Then we better not miss," Bradley replied, from the firing platform, making final adjustments to his modified rifle. "How long until the first shot?" 20 minutes to optimal position, she reported. "Though I must say, watching you work that rifle earlier was quite inspiring. I have some new impossible scenarios I'd like to explore after this mission." Promises? He grinned, though his focus remained sharp. "Just keep those beautiful eyes on my target, partner. We've got a galaxy to save." The ship's stealth systems engaged as they approached the first facility. The countdown to humanity's greatest test had begun. But aboard their ship, two beings from different worlds had already beaten impossible odds, finding love amid chaos. The first 3 shots went perfectly. Bradley hit each target with his trademark precision, the ancient facilities responding by releasing their build-up energy safely into space. But as they approached the 4th location, something changed. Bradley, Nara's voice carried an unfamiliar note of fear. "The readings, they're unlike anything I've ever seen." The space around their stealth cruiser began to distort, reality itself seeming to ripple like heat waves over desert sand. The great filter was beginning to manifest. "Well, that's new," Bradley commented from the firing platform, adjusting his stance as the ship's artificial gravity fluctuated. "Any idea what we're looking at?" "Beautiful. The filter isn't just an event." Nara's fingers danced across her console, analyzing data streams. "It's a fundamental breakdown of physical constants. Space-time itself is becoming unstable." Through the viewports they watched stars shift position, their light bending in impossible ways. Distance and time began losing meaning, making Bradley's already difficult shots seem truly insurmountable. "How am I supposed to hit a target when space itself isn't playing by the rules?" he muttered, recalibrating his scope for the 4th time. "The same way you do everything else," Yara replied, leaving her station to join him on the platform. "By making the impossible look easy." She pressed against his back, her azure skin radiating warmth through their armor. Their recent passionate encounters had created a deeper connection, allowing them to anticipate each other's movements with uncanny precision. "The filters affecting local space-time," she continued, her hand steadying his shoulders. "But you don't rely on computers or standard physics. You rely on instinct, on feeling. That's what makes you special." "That and my devilish charm," he quipped, though her touch helped center him among other talents. She purred, her amber eyes glowing with recent memories. "Remember last night when you said you could feel the perfect moment? Hard to forget." He grinned, recalling their intimate encounter in the ship's observation deck. Though I'm not sure those same principles apply to saving the galaxy, don't they? Her fingers traced patterns on his armor. You've always trusted your instincts relied on feeling rather than pure calculation. Maybe that's exactly what we need now. Someone who cannot feel their way through warped space-time. The ship's sensors blared new warnings as reality continued bending around them. Stars seemed to dance, their positions shifting randomly across space. The target facility appeared to be simultaneously kilometers away and right beside them. Impossible shot, Niara whispered against his ear. You know what that word does to me, Bradley replied. His voice husky. Despite the crisis makes me want to prove you wrong all over again. Then prove it, she challenged, stepping back to her monitoring station. Show me another miracle. My impossible human. Bradley took a deep breath, letting his consciousness expand. Beyond mere visual targeting, he could feel the space-time distortions, now see the patterns in the chaos. The filter wasn't random, it was following its own twisted logic. Target facility is experiencing temporal multiplication. Nara reported it exists in multiple time states simultaneously. Good. Bradley adjusted his aim slightly. Means I can't miss. That's not how temporal physics works. The shot rang out, cutting through the twisted space-time like a knife through water. They watched as the bullet seemed to split, existing in multiple states at once before converging on the target. Target with perfect precision. The facility's energy released in a spectacular display, temporarily stabilizing the local space-time distortions. Impossible, Nara exclaimed, but this time her voice carried pure joy. You actually calculated for temporal multiplication. Calculated nothing. Bradley pulled her into his arms. I just felt which version of the target was real. The rest was just instinct. Their celebratory kiss was interrupted by new alarm. The filter was adapting, changing its patterns. The remaining facilities would be even harder to hit. We've got 12 hours before the next facility reaches critical mass. Oh, Niara reported, though she made no move to leave his embrace. Any ideas? A few. Bradley's hands wandered appreciatively over her combat suit. First, I need you to help me calibrate my instincts again. For science, of course. Of course, she agreed with a seductive smile. We should be very thorough. The fate of the galaxy depends on it. After all, as they retreated to their quarters, the stars continued their impossible dance outside, but inside their ship two beings had found something more impossible than warped space-time. A love that transcended species physics in the very fabric of reality itself. The fifth facility presented an entirely new challenge. As their stealth cruiser approached, the laws of physics didn't just bend, they shattered. Gravity has reversed itself 3 times. In the last minute, Nara reported from her station, her blue hair floating upward, despite the ship's artificial gravity. And Bradley, you need to see this. The target facility existed in a quantum state of matter, simultaneously solid, liquid, and gas. Moreover, it was rotating through dimensions that shouldn't exist in normal space now. That's just showing off, Bradley commented, making unprecedented adjustments to his rifle. Their recent intimate encounter had left him feeling more connected to the universe's underlying patterns, though he couldn't explain why the ancients weren't just testing our ability to shoot. Nara realized, studying new data streams. They're testing our species' ability to transcend normal physical limitations. Each facility breaks different fundamental laws. Good thing. I never paid much attention to laws anyway. Oh. Bradley winked, earning an appreciative smile from his partner. Commander Sterling's hologram flickered into existence, looking more concerned than usual. The filter effects are spreading. We're detecting similar physics anomalies across multiple sectors. Whatever you're going to do, do it fast. No pressure, Bradley muttered, as the transmission ended. Just need to hit the target that exists in multiple dimensions while gravity decides which way is up. Should be fun. Nara left her station again, approaching him with that predatory grace that made his pulse quicken. You know what I think? She pressed against him, her combat suit sensors interfacing with his armor. I think the ancients knew exactly what they were doing. Oh, he studied her. As another gravity wave passed through the ship, they created challenges that could only be overcome by beings who could think beyond conventional limitations. Her amber eyes blazed with intensity, like a human who can make impossible shots guided by instincts that defy explanation, and an alien partner who keeps pushing him to exceed those limitations. Bradley pulled her closer, their bodies remembering last night's passionate exploration of their own physical boundaries. Precisely, she traced his jaw with one elegant blue finger. Each shot has required you to break different physical laws. The temporal shot ignored causality. The quantum shot violated uncertainty principles. And now I need to hit a target that exists in dimensions we can't even perceive. He finished while gravity plays ping-pong with reality impossible. She teased, knowing what the word did to him. With the right motivation, his hands wandered appreciatively over her fur. Nothing's impossible. A new alert caught their attention. The facility was beginning to pulse with energy patterns that shouldn't exist in normal space-time. The filter isn't natural, Niara said, suddenly studying the readings. These patterns, they're too precise, too structured. This isn't some cosmic event. It's a deliberate test testing what our worthiness. She met his eyes. The ancients didn't just leave behind a defense system. They left a challenge waiting for species evolved enough to overcome it. Bradley considered this, as he made final adjustments to his shot. So no pressure. We're just proving humanity deserves to exist in the galaxy. Not just humanity, she corrected, her voice soft. All of us, different species working together, transcending our limitations through cooperation. And she paused, her skin darkening slightly. Other forms of connection. The facility's energy reading spiked again, and new dimensions began manifesting around it. The target now existed in what appeared to be 7 different spatial states simultaneously. You know, Bradley said, settling into position after this shot, we should probably conduct more research into those other forms of connection for science, of course. Of course.
Agree.
Her voice husky though. I believe thorough investigation requires multiple trials, multiple positions too, he added, drawing another blush from her. I mean dimensional positions for accuracy. Their playful banter was interrupted by a massive gravitational wave that sent loose objects flying across the bridge. The facility's energy patterns were reaching critical levels. Time to prove the ancients right, Yara said. Returning to her station, show them what humans can really do. Bradley took a deep breath, letting his consciousness expand beyond normal perception. Could feel the facility's multiple dimensional states, sense the patterns in the gravitational chaos. More importantly, he could feel Nara's presence, their connection anchoring him in reality while his mind explored impossible spaces. Target locked, he announced, though locked was an inadequate term for perceiving something existing in 7 dimensions simultaneously. Impossible shot, Nara asked one final time, her voice full of confidence rather than doubt for anyone else. Bradley smiled, his finger tightening on the trigger. Absolutely, the shot rang out, the bullet somehow maintaining coherence as it traveled through multiple dimensional states. They watched in awe as it struck all 7 versions of the target simultaneously, creating a cascade of energy that stabilized local spacetime. Impossible, Niara exclaimed, but her voice carried pure joy and pride. You actually hit a 7-dimensional target all in a day's work, Bradley replied, though his hands were shaking slightly from the effort. Now about that research we discussed, the final facility loomed before them, but it wasn't like the others. Instead of a physical structure, it appeared as a pure manifestation of energy pulsing with colors that shouldn't exist in normal space. This is it, Yar breathed, her instrument struggling to make sense of the readings. The last test. Bradley stood at his firing platform, rifle ready, though he wasn't sure what good conventional weapons would do against pure energy. Their journey had pushed the boundaries of possibility, strengthened by each intimate moment they'd share between impossible shots. Suddenly the energy coalesced into a holographic message. A being of pure light appeared before them, its form suggesting it had transcended physical existence. Ions ago you have proven worthy, it announced in all known languages simultaneously. The tests were not merely about survival but about potential. About connection. Connection. Bradley raised an eyebrow at Nara, who blushed beautifully. Your species, human, possesses remarkable adaptability, and you Aryan demonstrate the capacity for evolution beyond biological limits. Together you represent what we sought, beings capable of transcending their own limitations through unity. The ancient being's form shifted, showing images of cosmic threats that made the filter seem trivial. What you face were preparation trials. The true challenges lie beyond the galactic core, threats that can only be overcome by species working in harmony, growing beyond their original designs. So this was all just training? Bradley asked, though his hand found Nara's instinctively. The filter was real, the being corrected,
but it served dual purposes, eliminating the unworthy while preparing the worthy. Your impossible shots weren't just about accuracy, but about breaking the boundaries of what your species thought possible. Nara's amber eyes widened with understanding. Each shot required different laws of physics to be transcended because the real threats we'll face don't play by any rules we know. Bradley finished. We needed to prove we could evolve precisely. The ancient being seemed pleased. But more importantly, you proved that different species could achieve more together than alone. Your intimate bond allowed for achievements beyond either of your natural capabilities. The energy structure began to pulse with new patterns, and Bradley instinctively knew what was required. This final shot wouldn't just be about hitting a target, it would be about accepting the ancients' challenge, about committing humanity and all allied species to a greater purpose. One last impossible shot. Nar asked softly, pressing against him. Actually, Bradley smiled, pulling her closer. I don't think that word applies anymore. Not with you here. Their kiss was electric, literally the energy field responding to their connection when they parted. Both knew exactly what to do. Bradley raised his rifle, but this time Nara's hands covered his on the weapon. Their consciousness merged, transcending individual perception. The shot they fired wasn't just physical. It was a declaration of intent, a promise to face whatever lay beyond the galactic core. Together, the energy facility transformed, becoming a gateway to new possibilities. The ancient being nodded in approval. The gateway will remain open, accessible when your civilizations are ready. Until then, use what you've learned. Grow, evolve, love. As the being faded, the normal laws of physics reasserted themselves. But Bradley and Niara knew they'd never see the universe quite the same way again. Commander Sterling's hologram appeared, looking both relieved and curious. Report, did we pass the test with flying colors? Bradley grinned, his arm still around Nara's waist. Though I might need to requisition a bigger rifle for what comes next, and perhaps some private quarters for additional training exercises. And added with a seductive smile, Sterling wisely chose to ignore that last comment. It returned to base for debriefing. The galaxy will want to hear about this after the transmission ended. Bradley turned to Niara. So about that proper date I still owe you. I believe we've moved well beyond traditional dating protocol. She purred, her fingers tracing patterns on his armor. Though I wouldn't mind exploring some more impossible positions. Nothing's impossible anymore, he reminded her, pulling her into another passionate kiss. But I'm happy to spend the rest of my life proving it to you over and over again. Their ship set course for home, leaving the ancient facility behind, but they knew this wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. Humanity had proven itself worthy of a greater destiny, and they would face it together, one impossible shot at a time. As they celebrated privately in their quarters, Niara whispered against Bradley's lips, I love you, my impossible human. I love you too, my beautiful alien, he replied, their bodies entwining as naturally as their destinies had now. About those training exercises, the galaxy spun on as secrets waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to transcend their limitations, to reach beyond the impossible, and to find love in the most unexpected places. The first image of the harmonious contemplation of distant stars limping into Earth's solar system with its broken hyperdrive and frustrated crew. At the time, first contact with alien life had seemed like the most important moment in human history. Now, looking back, she realized that the most important moment had been when Captain Brewster had made the casual decision to abandon his broken ship rather than try to fix it. Because if there was one thing humans were really good at, it was taking someone else's broken technology and turning it into something unreasonably dangerous. And the universe apparently couldn't get enough of it. The end.